So just to take it back to the topic, so that maybe someone may ask themselves, but why are we talking about leadership when we're talking about governance? Why are we talking about corruption when we're talking about governance? Why are we talking about corruption when we're talking about the governed? And this is why, just to try and bring it all in together. We talked about young people or youth being change agent and being leaders and needing to cultivate leadership and equipping themselves with skills and competences they need to being change makers and to help the steering of the ship, to help, they're holding the blanket that covers us to bring protection and warmth and all the good things that we can get from government. But why are we talking about these things? Leadership is central to governance, be it corporate governance, be it self-governance, be it issues of integrity, personal accountability, and just personal accountability. Now we can take it up to political accountability. So when they talk about leadership and cultivating leadership skills, it is actually talking really one of the core pillars of governance. Now the question is, just from what Faber has just said, the question is, how do we make sure that young people, that youth, that young leaders especially, know that if government does not cultivate that leadership skill or does not promote and build integrity, because we're just speaking to, it's actually a question of integrity, isn't it? That integrity must be cultivated, it must be built at the family level, at the school level, at the departmental level, at the organizational level, until you reach a higher level of leadership, that when now you become a leader of a country or a leader of people, when you are tempted to take for your own private gain or for your own self-interest, that you remember what integrity is and whether you're doing it for the people or not. Now, Ismail, what do you think we can do as young people to help government? Because we said that people can't just sit and say, oh, I'm just a small one, there's an elephant over there. What can we do? What can we propose to government to consider to have us come on board and participate in government?
Yes, so these good points that were raised, they're very important to take note of. Now the question is, how do the youth impact anti-corruption or have an effect against corruption?
Yeah.
And I would say that as much as the elderly people or older people, rather adults, are given the opportunity in governance,
yeah,
why can't the youth do the same thing? Why can't there be platforms based for the youth? Why
yeah.
can't the youth get involved? And to me, I don't have anything to a response to that, a positive response to that. And when it comes down to you, like you mentioned, they say that youth might be playful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's the case. I think that is an excuse used rather than the actual reason and ideology
yes.
Used against youth. And you see, I think simply why they don't want to engage youth, why certain corrupt individuals do not want to engage youth, is simply because somewhere along the way, they understand the power that the youth have. They understand how effective the youth is. They understand what we can do. And if we step in, we can definitely change everything for the better.
Yes.
We can hold them accountable. We can ask them for reasons of why they did certain... and in fact, we're supposed to ask them about everything they do, every step of the way they take. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
If they cannot respond to us, it means they did the wrong thing. They led us into the wrong place. They took us into the fire.
Yes.
They didn't take us into a warm place. They weren't covering us with the warm blankets. So, as I mentioned, power. Power is a very, very, very big responsibility. It's not only just having a certain degree of authority over your nation, over your people.
Yeah.
It's also about, inquiring on the general well-being, holding their funds.
Yes.
You're holding their funds. It's a major responsibility. As Favor said, temptation is there, but it's all about how you react to your temptations.
Yes.
It's about self-discipline. Putting things into effect, putting certain measures, stringent measures into effect to ensure that you have self-discipline, and that is about leadership. It's about having discipline over yourself before you lead others. And if you don't know how to deal with yourself, I don't see, honestly, a way you're going to deal with others.
I love how, I'll go back to the example that you gave about the blanket, and that it's government is like, it's a covering, it's like a blanket covering people during a winter's morning. And now, knowing that seasons change, when they keep stealing the blanket, and they just steal it however way, they keep tearing it apart, and then the season of winter comes to an end, and you get a scorching hot summer.
Yeah.
Your covering is not there. The sun will scorch you, right? So the covering must be there. And this is why it is important, Botswana, ladies and gentlemen, to participate in government, in governance, in your governance, to demand to be included, not just consulted through a few people in your society, but to actually attend the Khotla meetings, to participate in your village development committees, to have a say, to have a meeting, call for meetings with your councillors, call for meetings with your members of parliament. If you can't get them on the line, send them a message on Facebook Messenger. Find ways. What I'm saying is there are many ways we can use to make sure that we participate in governance, to make sure that our leaders don't pull out and tear off bits and pieces of the blanket that is covering us because we are not watching, or because we are not holding the blanket together. We need to hold this blanket. We need to be in this ship. We need to make sure that it's steered right and it's going to where we want it to go as we move Botswana forward. I always see on Facebook this hashtag moving Botswana forward. But where are we moving Botswana forward to? Where are we moving Botswana when we're leaving the energy of youth behind to move this ship, to hold this blanket? There's a reason why we have seasons, and the reason why we age and we grow old. We grow old so that those who are coming after us can take over. But how they take over depends on how we train them. So if we're training our young people that for you to succeed is to steal, that for you to do well in business is to bootlick, that for you to do well in society, it is to stab one of your own in the back, that for you to do well in this society, it is to lazy around and pay a bribe, that for young people to do well is to sell themselves, then we are doing our country a disservice. We are killing the future generation of this country. We are not doing anything sustainable, but we are exploiting and we're wasting away the potential that the youth have. So ladies and gentlemen, when the youth ask questions, they're not being disrespectful. They're just participating in this democracy, and they're participating in governance, and they want to know more, and they're holding you accountable. Personal accountability is very important. We spoke earlier about self-discipline, self-control, integrity. Can you speak to what accountability means to you? When you say, when we ask questions, they must be answered. Because when they don't answer, it means they don't know where they are taking us, or they don't know why they even started a program. What is personal accountability to you, Favor?
Personal accountability. When we talk about personal accountability, especially when you are a leader, I'll take the example of a ship. You are driving the people to a certain place. You already know where we want to go.
Yes.
And obviously, in the way, there happens to be stormy seas, and you have to take a U-turn and take a different direction. The question is, the moment you take that U-turn or you go to a different place, do you tell the people that, ladies and gentlemen, we are now taking a different route? Because that's what normally happens when you're in a plane, when you're in a boat.
Yes.
That's what happens when we take a U-turn. The captain says something. The captain tells you that we are taking a U-turn, we are going to a different destination.
Yes.
So in our leadership, does that really happen? Or do we have to ask first?
Yeah.
Because as a leader, you obviously have to know that you have to tell your people what is the next move, where are we going.
Yes.
So the moment there is no accountability and we have to ask for accountability for a long time, then that's when we have to know that something really isn't right.
Oh, okay. Wow, I love that. But Ismail, do you want to add personal accountability?
Yes.
What is that?
As we said, personal accountability is being accountable for your actions. And, you know, we're all human beings. We do things that, you know, isn't right.
Yeah.
We all have that in us. But do we actually question what we just did? Or do we just go along with the flow and say, no, it's okay, this and that? It's okay, we make mistakes, but it's how we rectify those mistakes. And as we said about going... involving your people, telling them where you're going, which turn you're taking. You know, a leader is okay to do that. They can do that. But if they don't get a response from their people, we like what you're doing, we don't like what you're doing, improve on this, improve on that. Criticism, if they don't take that in, it's like a dictatorship. The person is telling you this is what's happening, and they're not getting feedback from the nation. And if that doesn't happen, it's simple, it's an unhappy nation, unproductive nation, stagnant nation.